Hello again, DJ here. Thank you for coming to my channel. Please enjoy. If you do enjoy, press the like button for me, please. And do subscribe. It doesn't cost you a penny, it doesn't cost you a cent, it doesn't even cost you a rupee. It's totally free to subscribe. So it does encourage me to continue. In fact, it enables me to continue with these short, brief, concise reports on what's happening in the news today. So please subscribe, like button, and don't forget to comment. Not getting enough comments, and I believe we need comments on some of the subjects I'm mentioning. And today's subject, I'm going to talk about Helen Jones. Who? Helen Jones. She's 54 years of age, and she was questioned on the doorstep of her home by two plainclothes detectives who suddenly turned up at her home. This is in the Greater Manchester area, and they knocked on her door and frightened her, intimidated her. Now, I don't believe that they were really wanting to intimidate her, but the fact is, two policemen knocking on your door unexpectedly and calling her to the door and telling her that there's been a complaint about her and they've come to investigate is intimidation, whether it's meant or not. And so they came to her after she called for the resignation of a Labour councillor in Greater Manchester. And it was after the WhatsApp scandal. And now, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about with the WhatsApp scandal, I'm referring to the recent WhatsApp scandal, and I'm referring to Labour councillors discussing what they thought was a private set of conversations. Such things as a lady who complained about her trash bins not being emptied on a regular basis, and the Labour politician, in conversation to other Labour politicians and followers, stated he hoped she would die before the next election. You know, and other such conversations were eminent in this group. They have two of those Labour people have been dismissed. One was a government minister. Yes, so that's how bad it was. So this woman made a comment that she thought that one of the guys should, let's see what she did actually say, so I don't quote her wrongly. So her name is Helen Jones, as I say, she's 54, and she said of Councillor David Sedgwick, let's hope he does the decent thing and resigns. But somehow I think his ego won't allow it. Oh, hurty words. Oh, tears, tears, tears. So Jones answered the door, and two plainclothes officers were at the door, and she asked them during the conversation, had she committed a crime? And one of the officers said, no, you haven't. Then why are the police there at her door, frightening her, intimidating her? And when she asks, have I committed a crime? They say, no, you haven't. Why? I thought the police were here to investigate crime and to solve crime and catch the culprits of crime. But it seems that, no, they came to see her because, why? Because the councillor David Sedgwick's partner, wife, don't know, I've only got that she was his partner, but I'm assuming she's his wife. She made a complaint to the police of Hurty Words. Oh. A spokesman for Greater Manchester Police said, we spoke to the woman, I'm quoting him, we spoke to the woman for 6 minutes to advise her she was subject to a complaint of harassment and to answer any questions she may have. No further action was necessary as no crime had been committed. We are under a duty to inform her that she was subject to a complaint. Why? Someone says, oh, that woman said, let's hope my husband resigns, but I think his ego won't allow it. And she complains to the police. And the police take it so seriously that two detectives, plainclothes detectives, arrive at the woman's door, knocking on her door, frightening her, because I hope he has the decency to resign, but I doubt he will. The mind boggles, doesn't it? You know, sort of what's the hit? But this is what we're living in today. It took two detectives, as I say, and they took it seriously enough to actually go to her home and frighten and intimidate the woman. Now, I think this is a tactic. They keep stopping people in the street, don't they? For standing. Get your words out, David. Standing quietly and praying in their own minds. And they go, "What are you praying about?" Well, police should not be inquiring as to what people are thinking in their own minds quietly, but they are nowadays. And so we're seeing these tactics, these intimidation tactics by British police against silent thoughts in public, silent prayer, and against innocent thoughts expressed on the internet. I mean, innocent thought, let's hope he resigns, but I don't doubt it, is an innocent thought that was expressed on the internet. No need for two policemen who I'm sure would have had better things to do than going knocking on doors and frightening 54-year-old women. But then, this is what we've got a government doing now, isn't it? George Orwell foresaw this in his novel 1984. I love that novel because it tells us what's going on right now, today, in our life in Britain. And it's frightening. It really is frightening. I recommend you read George Orwell 1984 to see, and then contrast it with what's going on. We saw it with Stalin, Hitler. Afterwards, we saw it with Mao of the Chinese Red Army. The socialist governments restricting the thoughts and expressions of people, persecuting anyone who expressed an opinion contrary to the state opinion. Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, our Labour Party Prime Minister, is currently propagating lies and accusations against any other policies other than his own, and calling them extreme right. This is how Stalin, Lenin, Mao and Hitler began their operation to shut down all alternative thinking and expression. But first, you have to re-educate the youth of Britain and the youth of the Western world, the young people into accepting that the left-thinking way you do that through the education system, inculcating ideas of radical prejudice, racial prejudice, racial preference known as the critical race theory. Yes, it's been going on now for a few years, I know. You have to commence the ideas that the ruling class need to be taken down by such means as calling them, in this case, white privilege. So you get rid of people getting to the top by merit, by ability, and you lower the playing field, you lower the target, and you make it easier for people who are not qualified to get the job. And it doesn't matter what colour, what race, it doesn't matter. The best person for the job should get the job. That's how it always was, but not anymore. You have to encapsulate the young minds by educating them with the idea there's no absolute truth. In this case, the idea that there are not two distinct sexes, but over 100 genders, which cannot be defined by biology, but by feelings. Therefore, there is no truth, only feelings, and the relevant to the discourse. Shut down all alternatives. I witnessed in a university where I was at a speaker, a young speaker. They were young students, so they're in the 19, 20-year-olds, and he was talking sense because I think he was talking sense, but there was a group of students, and they didn't debate him. They didn't listen to him. What they did is they started screaming, and I mean scream, ah! And they went through it, this group of students. No words of disagreement, no words of sort of a different idea. They just did a constant scream to blot out his words that people couldn't hear him until he gave up and walked away. This is what's going on in our universities, in our colleges, and it starts in the schools. I mentioned in a post the other day, sort of a 13-year-old girl in the classroom, teacher asked questions and she went meow, and another girl said, "Oh, stop being stupid, you're not a cat, you're a human being, speak properly." And the teacher sent that girl out, not the girl who said meow. She thought that was free expression and she should be allowed to express herself for what she felt she was, and she felt she was a cat, a pussycat. So the girl that was punished was the one who said, "No, you're not a cat. You're a human being. I can see you. You're dressed in a school uniform. You don't go to school in a school uniform if you're a cat." But that's shut down now. What matters is feelings, not truth, not facts. Feelings, and there's a reason behind it all. And I think it should now come to your minds and everybody's minds that why feelings have been promoted. Britain is falling fast. The British population voted in a government whose policies did not make sense and do not make sense. Net zero emissions does not make sense. The exclusion of carbon dioxide does not make sense. All vegetation on this land relies on CO2, carbon dioxide, for life, and it exchanges its gift of CO2 with a gift to us, oxygen. A plant takes in carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. We need oxygen to live. Plants need carbon dioxide. All vegetation does this. So grow more trees and reduce the CO2 because the trees will absorb the CO2 and produce more oxygen for us. It makes sense, doesn't it? Both benefit vegetation and humans. But instead, we're reducing the acreage of fertile land to plant inefficient windmills and solar farms. We're importing fuel from across the oceans, making our fuel the highest priced anywhere, whilst creating more emissions from transporting the fuel purchased by container ships. When we have our own plentiful fields of oil and natural gas and coal under our feet and in the British-controlled seas around Britain. But we're not being allowed to do them because Ed Miliband, the environmental minister for this new government, is banned them from mining it and bring it to the surface. It doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense. We get it. We get other people to mine it in their countries, and then we ship it over. So lorries deliver it to the ports. Then it's loaded by cranes into the ships. Then the ships come over. Then it's unloaded by cranes. Then the lorries take it out to where we want it. And they're all using diesel. So fumes we're trying to stop, they've increased. And then we pay more for it than if we put ourselves and gave our own men here jobs in the oil, coal and gas industries. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. But of course it does to a socialist government that's trying to flatten the people and keep control. Okay, the government is pursuing the obsolescence of petrol and diesel motor vehicles in favour of electrically driven cars and vehicles, and without the electricity power points that we need to power them. It doesn't make sense. We haven't got enough power points, and anyway, if we had the power points, there'd be a drain on electricity resource. Where would it come from? Well, it would come from the electricity generators. What are the electricity generators powered by? Would it be diesel? But we're not drilling for diesel anymore. We're not drilling for oil anymore. Import it. So Britain says, "Oh look, we're heading for net zero emissions by not having our own mines and wells, but we'll put it up elsewhere." So the world doesn't change. it's narrow thinking, isn't it? Narrow thinking. So what about the fact that if we did have enough power, which we haven't, but if we did have enough electricity generating power to plug our electric cars in, where is the cadmium coming that creates the batteries? Well, it's coming from Africa, where young children, underage children, are at work in mines, digging in dangerous conditions, young children as young as 8 and 9 and 10, to dig out the cadmium to put into our batteries for our cars. That's cruelty, and okay, we're not making them work, but we are, because we're the ones purchasing the cadmium, so that makes the governments in the African countries get the children down the mines. So we're responsible. If we didn't buy it, we didn't buy the cadmium from them, then the children would not have to go down the mines at 8 and 9 and 10 years of age. Makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense. I could go on, but I think I've said enough to provoke thought. We are seemingly under the boot of oppression on our doorstep, with police arriving, arresting people for standing quietly in a street, for saying hurty words on the internet. I've been censored in Facebook 6 times and once now in YouTube for what I'm saying. And the threats fly. I'm going to carry on. But hurty words are being pushed to the fore against the freedom of expression. That politician, David Setterham, his wife or partner, reporting the lady to the police for saying, I hope he resigns, but I doubt he will because of his ego. And the police, instead of saying, yes, madam, but there's no crime here, madam, instead they come rushing to the woman's house, banging on her door to frighten her, intimidate her, and then admit, no, you haven't committed a crime. This is intimidation. It's intimidation by a police force which is under the boot of their superiors and under the boot of the government and under the boot of left-wing, socialist, communist thinking. Your comments, please. Please let me have your comments. I'm saying controversial things, I know. Well, I don't believe they're controversial, but I know other people will. So I want to hear your comments, and I want you to press the like button so that I know I've got some of you agree. And always subscribe, because I can't continue without your subscriptions. So please subscribe. It doesn't cost you a penny, it doesn't cost you a cent, it doesn't even cost you a rupee. It's totally free. So the subscribe button is there. Just press it, just click on it, and that's all you have to do. And it doesn't cost you anything. So until my next post, and the way this news is coming, I'm sure we're going to have another news bulletin later on today. But at the moment, here it's just coming up to midday, 12 o'clock. It's 11:55. So until the next one, goodbye for now, and I'll see you later.